We begin our report around a long table in a rectangular private room inside a Manhattan courthouse where 12 New Yorkers are poring over notes from 16 days of testimony from 22 witnesses with 10,000 words of instructions by a judge to guide them. Their task? To be the judges of facts and decide whether the defendant, Donald Trump, is guilty or not guilty. It took about an hour for Judge Juan Merchan to give his instructions to the jury. To convict the former president, the jury must find that he made false entries in business records with the intent to defraud and intent to commit or conceal another crime, breaking any of the laws related to elections, taxes, or other business records. The verdict must be unanimous and based only on the evidence presented at trial. CBS News campaign reporter and attorney Katrina Kaufman has been covering all those days and all those witnesses, and she joins me now. So, what do you make of these jury instructions?
I mean, the jury instructions are such a crucial part of this case, and the judge took an hour this morning to explain them in detail to the jury, and they really could be very determinative of the outcome of this case. Just the way that the jurors have to apply the law to these very long story with a lot of facts, and it's also just a very layered charge. As you were saying, they have to both find that Trump falsified business records and that there was the intent to commit or conceal an underlying crime, which the prosecution says is a violation of the New York election law 17-152. So he really had to explain the details of all of this to them and how to define these laws.
And just on that question of the that he falsified the documents to cover up or another crime, the jury can pick and choose, right, between any of the possible other crimes. In other words, it can be election law, state election law, federal election law, or tax law or business law. They can kind of pick from any of those, right?
Yes, that's what's really interesting, because there has to be an element of unlawful means, but they don't all have to be unanimous on what those unlawful means are. So as you were saying, it could be a federal election crime, it could be a tax crime, or it could be falsification of other business records. And that actually could be potentially the simplest way to a conviction for Donald Trump, because those business records could be tax records, 1099s that the Trump organization issued to Michael Cohen, for example, or when Michael Cohen set up these LLCs that he used to pay back Stormy Daniels, he admitted on the stand that he told a lot of false information when he was setting those up. So that's another avenue here for fulfilling this unlawful means requirement.
And Katrina,
and actually, it was interesting. I was sitting. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I was sitting next to a retired judge in court, actually, and he was saying that until today, and take this with a grain of salt, he felt like he was 80% sure that he could see a conviction in this case. But once he heard the jury instructions today that laid out these other falsified records that could be used as unlawful means, it made him even more confident that the jury could potentially unanimously decide to convict Donald Trump.
Fascinating. Now, what do you make of the two, or I should say, of the requests made by the jury, the questions they asked for, the clarifications? How do you read those?
Those were very key moments. And one thing that is interesting is they asked for 4 parts of testimony to be read back. 2 of them are related to a key Trump Tower meeting that took place between Michael Cohen, David Pecker, and Donald Trump. And this is the meeting where they allegedly devised this catch-and-kill scheme to suppress damaging stories, ultimately leading to the alleged payoffs of Stormy Daniels. But the jury wants to hear about that meeting, both from David Pecker's testimony and from Michael Cohen's testimony. So it's very interesting that they want to hear both sides of that meeting. Perhaps they want to contrast and compare what they said about it, see if it aligns, whether it corroborates what Michael Cohen said, for example, who obviously his credibility has been greatly undermined during this trial. And then another part they wanted to hear about was a phone call that David Pecker had said he received from Donald Trump at the time he was at an investor meeting in New Jersey. He said it was very memorable and that Trump had called him to talk about Karen McDougal. Pecker testified that Cohen had talked to Trump about whether they should buy Karen McDougal's story. Trump wanted to discuss it with David Pecker, and at the time, David Pecker said that he really thought they should buy the story, and Trump said on the call that he felt like whenever people do that, the story always tends to get out, which is very ironic given what happened in this case. But these are very important moments that came up in closing arguments, and the jury clearly wants to take a closer look at what was said on the stand about them.
Katrina Kaufman from busy downtown New York City. Thank you, Katrina.